Your unique perspective matters. And we need to actually see a more vast spectrum of perspectives available in general ways that the world is set up. We have had a, a lens that has been primarily through the lens of a straight white male. And before you run away and you think, oh, she's a raging feminist, and I mean, yes, I am, but it just means equality. Um, Please just hear me out with curiosity. Be curious. Maybe you're like, yeah, she's a raging feminist, and you're into it, and that's great. I love you. That's great. Wonderful. But we all have all have our unique perspectives, um, and quite often the lens we're taught about history is the white version of history, the white man's version of history, and it takes out so much. It erases other cultures, and it um, erases women and anyone that um, has different beliefs, has different sexuality. I mean, yeah, I mean the list could go on and on. Let's be honest. Anyone that doesn't fit into that box of what's acceptable. And look, we have realized this over the years, and we've gotten a lot better at recognizing this and trying to diversify, and then we've kind of backswung in recent years, depending where you're around the world, but a lot of places in the world. Um, and then there's the people that we're lucky enough to have the privilege in the first place of the perspective of everything was made for their perspective, that feel very threatened by how that how others trying to share their perspective and their history and their lens, they feel like anyone trying to share a different perspective than that straight white male is a threat to them. But majority of the time, we just want to feel seen and heard for our lived experience. And it doesn't mean we can't respect someone else's different lived experience. And I dare say they're so afraid of us doing what they've done to us for a very, very long time. And even we do it to ourselves, like internalized, like misogyny, for instance, is insidious. It can sneak up on you and you don't realize you're doing it. Internalized racism, internalized homophobia. Like there's so much that we don't, like, maybe we're taught when we're younger before we have discernment for ourselves and some kind of frame of reference for ourselves, somebody we love in our life that is on the other side of the fence, for instance, that feels like unaccepted and it feels unsupported, and honestly fearful because their perspective is not honoured and respected. And it saddens me immensely. And like sometimes I feel like a raging, angry woman, just noticing, going to things that are set up in this patriarchal society, that has at least recognized that it's a patriarchal society, so it was kind of attempting to do better. And look, we've come leaps and bounds. I'm very grateful that women have the vote and can have credit cards and be independent and um, don't have to like be married if it's not the right fit, and there's a million other things too. And I'm so grateful for those people in the past that have fought hard for those rights. And it's frustrating when I see women, especially, um, taking those rights for granted and siding with the patriarchal values. Um, I won't even say siding with the men because there's wonderful men that have taken the time to understand that feminism is not actually, um, it's not an attack on men. It's not even women saying they're better than men. It's just um, women wanting equal rights to men. People, like, it's being egalitarian, really, just being equal, having equal rights. Um, and and I don't think that's much to ask for. And there are people out there that straight up think that women have all the rights, and there's no internalized misogyny, and I wish that was true. I do really wish that was true. So the reason this came up for me today is because I went up to Brisbane and I did a walking tour. It was lots of fun and it was well informed, and they actually shared about some of the history to do with women, um, which I was really happy to see. And and but just that history being through the lens in the history books of a straight white male means that um, the actions they took against, so for instance, there was this um, prison for women, and my tour guide told a story about how one lady was imprisoned for stealing cloth first for a number of years, and then she got imprisoned again for stealing a hat for another number of years. Meanwhile, the namesake of Brisbane, um, he probably was technically a sir, but how dare he be a sir? So Mr. Brisbane, let's call him, um, would work these convicts on this. I think it was a windmill. He said, yeah, work these convicts to have this windmill work on the. I didn't see the thing, but there's dichotomy with basically the convicts have to be stepping in time from sun up to sundown without stepping out of line once. If they step out of line once, they get whipped. And that was by decree of this Brisbane character, who then got the town named after him. And like, and like, just who's the villain here? A woman that steals some cloth and a hat, or and does more time than's necessary for it, or someone who runs a awful regime, um, just torturing people, like for profit, basically. And look, hey, yes, these were convicts, like so they would have done something that landed them there. But I mean, case in point, with the lady I shared about, she had not done anything that warranted that amount of consequences, that amount of sentence time. So, how many of these other convicts landed there just through sheer bad luck? And they have to work under these awful conditions, and yet someone who obviously does not know how to care for human beings in any way, shape, or form just tortures them essentially, and like gets a bunch of. I mean, I don't know if they were paid. I'd hope they got paid, but they were convicts, so maybe they didn't. Maybe it was just what they were forced to do. But it's just awful, and there's a lot of history. Like, I mean, at least that's come down the history that that's what happened. But there's plenty of history that just erases women. It erases uh, different races other than white. It um I mean, over here in Australia, it breaks my heart. The First Nations, they were deemed to be flora and fauna. They're fucking human beings. And an incredible culture of human beings, may I say, as well, that lived off the land, that understood the land, that were the original custodians of this land. And they just got annihilated and pushed out and pushed down, and their stories have come out more and more over the years. But like, there's some that we will never hear, we will never know, because they were erased through gruesome measures. So I guess what I'm trying to say, this comes back to, I was inspired to see, after I went on this walking tour, I caught up with a friend, and after we caught up, she sent me, because we've been talking about walking tours, and she had her algorithms show up for her, and she sent me through a walking tour in Sydney that's about female history in Sydney. And I thought, that is so cool. And also, I've never heard of a female history walking tour before. Like, and yet, women have been there the whole time. Yes, often we were sanctioned to raise the children and be in the kitchen and look after the home, which is it's a worthy thing to do, don't get me wrong. But there's plenty of women that impacted history, but because they were not a man, they weren't allowed to have the title of doing so. I dare say a lot of, like, famous anonymous quotes were probably by women, because they just, or somebody else, ousted by society. Crazy. Anyway, I just loved that somebody had chosen to create a walking tour through the lens of female history. And hilariously, I looked up their Instagram, sorry, and hilariously, but also awfully, they're getting a bunch of hate for it. How dare you tell women's stories? Like, um, it's not that, it's not that offensive. Come on, why is that so offensive? So anyway, this has been a bit of a ranty speech today, but I just wanted to come back to that idea that your perspective, your lens of the world, your unique perception is valuable to other people that are like you. Then maybe there's something on your heart that you want to create, but you think, oh, but it doesn't fit into the box of society, or I've seen some people dabble in it, but your perspective is your perspective, and the alchemy of things that you've done in your life, places you've been, people you've known, people your kind of energy you show up with, all the things that's uniquely you, and there's value in that perspective. And I want more perspectives in the world. I wanna hear someone else's perspective and be like, cool, thanks for sharing. Like, that's way more exciting to me than this whitewashed version of history, which we're learning more and more is not the whole story. And if you're anything like me, I mean, I am 37, so it's been a while since I've been in school, but they what I was taught in school was the history mostly of the white man, and I didn't know any differently. And look, hey, clearly I'm white. So my ancestry is white, white, white. Um, and it's kind of shameful to think that's what my ancestors did, to be honest. And I think part of my part of my time here on this earth is to help um, clear some of the karma from stuff that I'll never know whether my ancestors did something or not, or what has been done. Um, and I'm sure there was factors I won't understand. And I'm talking about way, way back ancestors. Um, but also, you don't know what people did that you've known in this life, you know. Um, and I'm not actually here to judge that or make any of it wrong, even though black and white, probably some of it in the past was wrong. For instance, I am a direct descendant of King Henry VIII. um, there is many, many of us in the world, but that guy was an asshole, and he's my ancestor. So that's just like a case in point. That's actually something that has been traced to my family. So I know that there's assholes like that in my lineage. So I want to be someone that shows up and tries to heal any of the shitfuckery that has happened from that, but in a loving way, in a way that doesn't condone what's been done, but just heals, sends like love and healing to. I mean, you can't change that deep into ancient history, almost, but like, I just want to be someone that makes sure that I leave the world a better place through my own perspective and sharings than I found it. Ideally, which feels hard if I'm it feels overwhelming if I think about trying to do it all on my own, but I don't have to do it on my own. We can each show up with our perspective and share and find our own ways to share and heal the world. And if you can only show up to look at yourself and heal your own shadows, heal yourself and tune into you and know how to know, love, and trust yourself, like that's more than most people are doing. That is like that would if everyone that comes across me and my coaching work here just learns how to do that for themselves, I would feel so fulfilled in my life. If even just a handful of people, got that experience from listening to my ramblings, I would be so stoked. Purely for themselves, like nothing to do with me. I just maybe asked a good question at the right time that they then asked themselves. Your perspective matters, my friend. So I hope you remember that next time some internal voice, some past person, thing, place tells you your perspective, your wins doesn't matter. Remember that. Much love, and I will see you tomorrow.